I haven't purchased ginger from a supermarket shelf in years. Not the fresh kind, not the dehydrated kind, not that little $6 jar of powder either. And it all began with a single $2 knob of root and a wide, shallow pot resting on my back porch. Today, I'm going to walk you through precisely how that happened and how you can start doing the exact same thing this very week. Welcome back to Primal Life. I'm truly happy to have you here. If this is the first time you've stopped by, consider yourself part of the family now. We focus on straightforward, honest, practical, growing wisdom for people with real kitchens and real budgets, no fluff, no gimmicks. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, go ahead and do that now so you never miss what we release each week. Now let's get into ginger. Imagine this scene. You're walking into the grocery store, maybe on a random Tuesday evening. You need ginger for a stir-fry, or perhaps a pot of soup. You wander to the spice aisle and spot it. A small glass jar of powdered ginger, 2 ounces, $6. Right beside it sits dried ginger root, priced at $8. You continue on to produce and find fresh ginger root, going for $4 a pound. And if you happen to swing by your neighborhood natural food store, that same fresh root in the organic bin will run you $20 a pound. You pick up a small piece, use a spoonful for Wednesday's dinner, and maybe another spoonful finds its way into chicken soup on Sunday. By the next weekend, whatever's left of that piece has shriveled up, turned stringy, and been quietly forgotten in the back of the fridge. That $4 is gone. And the following month, you repeat the exact same routine all over again. Here's what I need you to understand before we go any further. That small knob of fresh ginger you just picked up, that lumpy little piece no larger than your thumb, if you tuck it into a pot of rich quality soil and place it in a warm spot in your home, it will grow into an entire plant. And within 8 to 10 months, that plant will hand you back 1 to 2 pounds of fresh ginger. That's enough to cook with for an entire season, enough to dry and grind into powder to stock your spice cabinet, and enough to set aside a piece for planting again next year, so you never have to buy ginger from a store again. Today, I'm going to take you through the whole process, from picking the right piece at the store, through professional-grade care practices, all the way to a method for pulling fresh ginger continuously across the entire year. Let's dive in. Before we put anything into a pot, I want you to fully grasp what ginger actually is, because this single piece of understanding changes everything about how successfully you'll grow it. Most people refer to ginger as a root, but technically it isn't one. What you're holding is called a rhizome, a thick stem that grows underground. Shoots rise upward from it, while roots extend downward beneath it. The rhizome itself is essentially the plant's main stem, lying on its side under the soil. And that single fact tells you everything about how to grow it properly. Ginger doesn't dig deep the way a carrot or parsnip does. Instead, it spreads outward and sideways, staying close to the surface. That means the shape of your container matters far more than how deep it is. A wide, shallow pot will always beat out a tall, narrow one. Keep that in the back of your mind as we move forward. Now take a closer look at the piece in your hand. You'll notice small, brownish bumps scattered across it. Those are called eyes, the same term old-time farmers used for the sprouting points on seed potatoes. Each one of those eyes is a spot where a new shoot will eventually emerge and grow toward the light. The more eyes present on the piece you plant, the more shoots you'll get, the more growth follows, and ultimately the larger your harvest at season's end. So when you're selecting your starter piece, don't just grab whatever's within reach. Look for the chunkiest, most irregular, bumpiest piece. And here's something most gardening content never mentions. Not all grocery store ginger is suitable for planting. Many supermarket chains stock ginger that's been lightly steam treated to extend its shelf life and stop it from sprouting while sitting on display. That treated ginger might look fine sitting in your kitchen, but it will have a hard time sprouting in your pot. Your best bet is to visit a local Asian grocery or a farmer's market and specifically seek out organic ginger. Organic rhizomes haven't been treated, and they sprout far more dependably. Once you've found a nice chunky piece covered in visible eyes, here's one more trick before the soil ever comes into play. Let that rhizome soak in warm water overnight before you plant it. This simple step rehydrates the tissue, activates the growing points, and gives your plant a noticeably quicker, stronger start. Now let's talk about the container and soil, because getting these two elements right is what separates a flourishing ginger plant from a pot that produces nothing but disappointment. For the container, you want something wide and shallow, with solid drainage holes at the bottom. I recommend a minimum width of 12 to 16 inches, and going bigger is always a good move. A wide garden tub or even a half whiskey barrel works great. As for soil, here's the exact blend I use. 60% quality compost, 30% standard potting mix, and 10% coarse sand or perlite for proper drainage. Also make sure your soil's pH falls somewhere between 5.5 and 6.5, which is slightly acidic. Ginger is a hungry, thirsty plant that thrives on rich organic material, and getting the soil right from day one is the single most valuable investment you'll make in this whole process. With your container filled and your rhizome soaked and ready, it's time to plant. But before that piece goes into the soil, there's a step most beginners skip entirely, and it ends up costing them their whole season. If you're cutting your rhizome into smaller sections, leave those cut sections out on your kitchen counter for 1 to 2 full days so the exposed surfaces can dry out and form a callus layer. This seals the cut tissue and dramatically lowers the odds of rot. Farmers have done this same thing with seed potatoes for generations, and the logic here is identical. Once the surfaces have dried, dig a shallow trench in your prepared soil, no more than an inch deep. Lay the rhizome flat with the eyes facing up and cover it with roughly 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch of soil. Press down gently with your palm, water it lightly. And then comes the part that tests every gardener's patience. For the next 3 to 8 weeks, you'll be staring at that pot and seeing nothing but plain soil. No shoots, no movement, no sign of life. Let me tell you directly, this is completely normal. During this stretch, the rhizome is doing its most critical work underground, sending out its first roots and building its foundation. Some pieces sprout within 2 weeks, others take up to 6. Either way, you'll get the same quality harvest come season's end. Trust the process and resist every urge to dig it up just to check. Once those first green shoots break through and the plant begins establishing itself, your role shifts to steady, thoughtful maintenance. And this is exactly where the gap is decided. For watering, you're aiming for roughly 1 inch of water weekly, which translates to about 2.5 centimeters. The simplest way to judge this is to push a finger an inch into the soil. If it feels dry, water thoroughly. If there's still moisture, leave it be. Always water in the morning so the soil has the whole warm part of the day to absorb it. Ginger craves consistent moisture, but will rot fast if water pools, so proper drainage is non-negotiable. As for light, 4 to 6 hours of indirect or filtered sunlight daily hits the sweet spot. A shaded porch works wonderfully. Steer clear of harsh midday sun, especially during summer, since it will scorch the foliage and put stress on the rhizome underneath. One of the most valuable moves you can make is mulching. Once your shoots stand a few inches tall, spread a 2-inch layer of organic mulch like straw, dried leaves, or wood chips. This layer retains moisture and keeps soil temperature stable. Now here's the professional feeding schedule that most home gardeners overlook. At planting time, mix a balanced organic fertilizer with an NPK ratio of October 10th 10 into your soil. Then, 4 to 6 weeks after the shoots emerge, side dress the plant with extra compost around the base of the stems And use this moment to practice what seasoned growers call hilling, gently mounding an extra inch or two of fresh soil or compost around the base of the growing stems. This technique pushes the rhizome to spread further outward and results in heavier clusters. Later, in the closing weeks of summer, switch to a fertilizer with more potassium to signal to the plant that it's time to focus its energy on bulking up the rhizome below ground. Around the 3 to 4 month mark, you'll begin to notice the soil at the edges of your pot cracking slightly as the rhizome pushes outward. That's exactly the sign you've been waiting for. Now that your plant is growing vigorously, let's talk about protecting it. Because while ginger is generally a hardy crop, it does carry a handful of specific vulnerabilities worth understanding. The primary threat to container-grown ginger is rhizome rot, almost always from overwatering or inadequate drainage. Fungal organisms like Pythium and Fusarium move in fast. Early warning signs include soft, discolored patches on the rhizome. By the time you spot the above-ground symptoms, yellowing, wilting stems, the damage below has often already progressed. The solution? Use sterilized potting soil and proper drainage. If you catch rot early, cut away every affected section with a clean blade. Let the remaining healthy tissue callus and replant in fresh soil. Beyond rot, the pests you're most likely to run into are aphids, spider mites, and thrips. Aphids gather on the undersides of leaves and leave a sticky film behind. Spider mites appear as fine webbing. For all three, diluted neem oil applied as a light spray is your safest first line of defense. It poses no risk to humans and interrupts the pest cycle without harming beneficial insects. The golden rule across all pest and disease management is simple. Start with clean materials, stay consistent, and check your plant regularly so small issues never grow into serious ones. With your plant protected and thriving, let me share the harvesting approach that truly reshapes how you think. You don't have to wait until the season wraps up to start enjoying your harvest. Starting around month 4 or 5, you can carefully reach into the soil, find a section that's grown away from the main cluster, and break or slice off a small piece for the kitchen. This lets you pull small amounts from a single pot every 2 to 3 weeks. Start 2 or 3 pots staggered a few months apart, and you'll always have one pot actively producing all year long. Within that setup, you end up with 2 distinct products. Ginger pulled between 4 and 6 months is baby ginger. It has thin, see-through skin that doesn't need peeling and a gentler, juicier flavor. Ginger left for the full 8 to 10 months develops thicker skin, a richer, more complex flavor, and much better keeping quality. For soups, stews, and spice powder, mature ginger is what you're after. One final tip for everyday use: freeze a portion of your fresh ginger whole. Frozen ginger grates cleanly and effortlessly without the stringy mess. Just go straight from freezer to grater and back again. Once the growing season winds down and the leaves start yellowing naturally, that's your cue for a full harvest. Gently pull the entire rhizome cluster up out of the soil and rinse it under cool water. What you'll find in your hands is a dense, knotty cluster weighing 1 to 2 pounds. Before doing anything else, set aside 2 or 3 of the firmest sections for next year's planting. Wrap them in a dry paper bag and store them somewhere cool and dark, around 55 degrees if possible. Everything else is yours to use. Now, here's how I process the bulk of my harvest. I peel away any rough skin, then slice the rhizome into thin, uniform pieces, about 1/8 of an inch thick. Uniform thickness matters because it ensures everything dries evenly. For air drying, spread the slices across a clean screen or wooden tray in a warm area out of direct sunlight, and let them dry for 2 to 3 days until they snap cleanly when bent. If you'd rather speed things up, set your oven to its lowest setting, roughly 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Crack the door open about 1 inch and dry the slices for 4 to 5 hours. Once they've turned fully crisp, grind them into a fine powder using a small coffee grinder or a mortar and pestle. Store the finished powder in a sealed glass jar, kept away from light and heat. A single batch of homegrown ginger fills close to a pint jar. roughly equivalent to 8 of those $6 store jars, or about $50 worth of spice, all from a $2 rhizome. I want to acknowledge something beyond the kitchen, because ginger has served as medicine for over 4,000 years. Modern science has confirmed much of what generations already understood. It genuinely eases nausea, whether from travel or pregnancy. It soothes sore throats and eases the discomfort of a cold when steeped in hot water with a bit of honey. It supports healthy digestion. One honest word of caution: if you're pregnant, talk to your doctor before using large medicinal amounts. And if you're on blood-thinning medication, mention your ginger use to your physician. So let's bring this full circle. $2, one wide, shallow pot, rich, well-drained soil, and patience. The cycle repeats season after season without ever spending another dollar in the spice aisle. This week, I want you to do one thing. Stop by your local market, find the chunkiest, most eye-covered rhizome in the bin, bring it home, soak it overnight, and get it into a pot. That's the entire first step. Let me know in the comments whether you've ever grown ginger before and what part of the country you're in. And if your family has an old recipe involving ginger, share it. Knowledge is worth keeping alive. Next time on Primal Life, I'll be showing you how to grow tomatoes the old-fashioned way. It's the natural next step. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.